All right, there it is. And just as a reminder, if you could please keep yourselves muted throughout the session. Video is optional. If you'd like to turn on your video, you're welcome to, but you absolutely don't have to. And now, again, for recording purposes, welcome to KPU's professional program in open education information session. My name is Andrea Votto. I'm a communications and event specialist in the Teaching and Learning Commons, and I have the pleasure of helping facilitate today's session. To begin, I acknowledge that I'm currently working on the unceded lands of the Coast Salish people, specifically the Kwantlen First Nation, who graciously bestowed their name on the university. So I'm going to quickly go through the agenda and then we'll get into everything. Each speaker will share their screen as it is their turn to present. We're going to start with an overview of PPOE by the Teaching and Learning Commons Associate Vice President, Rajiv Jangiani. This will be followed by presentations from a few of PPOE's course developers. We're going to start with Martin Weller, Professor of Educational Technology at the Institute of Educational Technology at the UK Open University. This will be followed by Amanda Larson, Affordable Learning Instructional Consultant at the Ohio State University, and then Erwin DeVries, who teaches the Online Master of Learning and Technology program at Royal Roads University. We will then share some information about registration, program features, admission requirements. This will be presented by Glenn Pajorny, program coordinator from our Continuing and Professional Studies Department. And I'd also like to acknowledge that Diana Christie, CPS's Divisional Business Manager, is also attending today. And before we get started, we will have a Q&A segment at the end. So the way that this will work is if you can just pop your questions into the chat box. We'll address as many of them as we can at the end of the session. We're hoping to have about 15 to 20 minutes to address as many questions as possible. Does anybody have any general questions before we get started? Otherwise, I will throw it over to Rajiv. If you have questions, if you want to throw it into the chat or unmute. I think we're good. Give it a few more seconds. All right, I see everyone saying hello in different time zones and everything. That's fantastic. I'll throw it over to Rajiv. Off to you, Rajiv.
Thank you very much, Andrea, and thank you everyone for being here. It's really a treat to spend this time with you, and I'm glad that you're here to learn more about this program. So as Andrea mentioned, I have the privilege of serving as KPU's Associate Vice President for Teaching and Learning. And of course, we've been doing a lot of work in open education over the years at Kwantlen. I recognize some of your names in the chat. And I know we have connected in other forums as well when it comes to KPU's open education work. So what I'm going to try to do to kick things off is to first provide a little bit of context about the program in general, why we developed this, where this is sort of situated in the context of our broader work in open education, before I dive into more of an overview of the program itself. So first, I would like to note as well, for those of you who are unaware, KPU has been doing rather a lot of work in open education over the years. In many contexts, our institution is regarded as a leader in open educational practices. And of course, a lot of our work centers around the use of open educational resources. Many of you will know that OER, which they're called for short, are really any teaching and learning resources that are published with an open Creative Commons license. And KPU is a leading adopter of OER in the context of our courses. While we have a lot of courses that use OER, of course, this is, of course, the centerpiece of our zero textbook cost program. And we're very proud to be home to Canada's first zero textbook cost programs. At this point, we have nearly 1,000 individual zero textbook cost courses and 8 entire credentials, including a couple of bachelor's degrees where students can complete the whole program with zero textbook costs. And in the 4 years since that program was launched, which was in January of 2018, we're very proud to see that students at KPU have saved in excess of $8 million in textbook costs, in addition to, of course, showing gains in their educational outcomes. So semester upon semester, for example, we see our students do better in terms of course persistence, course performance, and even course enrollment is elevated significantly as a result of our ZTC program. And I mentioned the ZTC program and of course its growth, but just here's a quick illustration as well in terms of where we're at. As you can see, we started small and things have certainly grown over time to the point where now open education is really a core part of the university's operations. It is not a strange foreign approach to teaching and learning anymore. It is very much woven into our systems and processes, as you'll see. One of the things we do to of course, hold up our work in open educational resources is a robust publishing program, which we call the Open Publishing Suite. And we're very proud to have many KPU faculty members publish open textbooks in our growing open textbook catalog. Here's just a quick snapshot. And of course, when you teach and work at a polytechnic university, you have a really broad, diverse set of programs. And so you can see just a small sample of the number of open textbooks that we continue to publish at KPU. And I'm sharing all of this, of course, because I want to illustrate in part where the expertise has been developed at KPU and where our work really lies. Open education is, of course, a huge part of it, but the other two pillars have to do with open pedagogy and open education research. And when it comes to open pedagogy, of course, we have open pedagogy fellowships for our faculty. We provide training and support for faculty who wish to embrace the affordances of openness when it comes to teaching and learning. And a good example of this is our Open Pedagogy Fellowship, which focuses on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This is where students work with faculty as part of their coursework to create open resources that serve progress towards specific sustainable development goals. And the one you're seeing on your screen right now is reminiscent of one of our first projects, which, as you can see, involved a couple of faculty members from KPU, along with a third from Montgomery College in Maryland, where they focused on food insecurity as an SDG. And the specific project students worked on had to do with mapping edible weeds in a scientific quality database across all of the campuses at these different institutions. So really good examples of engaging work that focuses on global challenges in a local context while producing OER. And I mentioned open education research as the third pillar. We certainly have an open education research fellowship for our faculty. Every year we have a faculty fellow doing research on this subject, but we also, of course, last year held our inaugural, and we hope this will continue, Open Education Research Institute, where scholars from across the world participate and learn how to engage in research on open educational practices more broadly. So those are the three pillars of our work at KPU in open education: OER, open pedagogy, and open education research. But as I illustrated as well, open education is really woven into our strategies, policies, and procedures as well. It's really part of the fabric of the institution at this point. One illustration of this in KPU's academic plan, which went from 2018 until 2023, we're still in the middle of this. It outlines 9 broad goals for the institution. And I'm proud to say that one of those goals, goal 6, as you can see, centers on KPU becoming an international leader in open education. It is also woven into our intellectual property policy, for example, where faculty are actively encouraged to engage in the creation and adaptation of OER, in addition to publishing in open access outlets and embracing open science practices in that IP policy. And finally, here's an example of a procedure wherein every course that's developed at KPU, every academic course, and every course that comes up for review, which happens every 5 years, they undergo a search for relevant OER. To be clear, this is not a mandate from the institution to adopt OER. It is certainly a good example of a systemic nudge, where we certainly want to make sure that for faculty who wish to engage in open educational practices, they are very much swimming with the tide instead of against the current, as is often the case at other institutions. So that's some of the context of what we do in open education at KPU. And of course, it's for all of these reasons and more that our expertise has been drawn on quite a bit, whether it's at national bodies, regional bodies, or internationally, where whether it's our librarians, teaching and learning staff, or leadership or faculty, where we're asked to share our experiences and strategies. And so in doing this work, we certainly recognized that there was a gap. There's a lot of institutions, a lot of individuals, practitioners, educators, policymakers that wish to embrace the benefits of open education, but they don't really have an easy professional development opportunity that's available to them. And so it was with a view to serving the global open education community that we determined that it would be a good idea to develop this professional program in open education. Now, this is meant, of course, to serve several purposes. On the one hand, it is meant to be a flexible and comprehensive program where people can develop their expertise and capacity across a broad range of open educational practices. And that includes things like open educational resources and pedagogies, open educational technologies, policy, leadership, and also scholarship. The program deliberately balances both theoretical and practical elements, always ensuring that critical perspectives and issues are foregrounded. So the way we've tried to design this program is meant to be an ideal professional development opportunity for educators, practitioners, technologists, librarians, leaders, policymakers, and others who endeavor to widen equitable access to education. It is designed to provide a comprehensive foundation for new practitioners, as well as to complement and significantly advance the expertise of those already working to support open education. And so graduates of other formal open education training opportunities are given, in many cases, the opportunity for advanced placement in this comprehensive program in order to build on and complement their existing training. It is open to all. You do not need institutional membership in any organization, nor institutional sponsorship to participate in this program. And so as I'll click through, I'll share a couple of more details over here. Whoops. See if I can advance this nicely. The program consists of a suite of 7 courses, of which individual learners pick 5 to sort of customize their journey. So what you're seeing over here are the first 2 courses that are required, sort of foundational courses in the program. And all of these courses are 6-week courses, fully online, and of course, asynchronous within those 6 weeks of those courses. The first 2 courses are a theory and philosophy of open education course, and you're already getting a sense that each of these courses is broken up into a set of 3 modules, and each module is, of course, 2 weeks long. And so Martin Weller, being here, will speak in good detail to that first course, which of course he developed. The second course focuses on open educational resources and pedagogies. And as I said, again, these 2 courses are required courses. From the 2 required courses, we move to the 3 elective courses. And this is where some customization of that learning journey begins. Whereas, if you're already working in the space, perhaps in the context of a library, you might want to pick the course on open educational technologies as one of your electives, for example. But we have open educational technologies supporting open education, as well as open education policy and leadership that are the 3 elective courses. And as I said, learners will pick any 2 out of those 3 courses among this elective suite. And then finally, we cap the program with an applied course. And again, there's choice over here. For some learners, they will be interested in designing a field project proposal. This could be for a field project within an academic, workplace, or other professional and community setting. But others, of course, will be interested in scholarly research in open education. But either way, these applied courses, you pick one of them, and it really prepares you to advance with a project that is applied in your local context, and that, of course, hopefully will benefit your work moving forward and get you kick-started. And of course, as I mentioned, Martin Weller's here. Andrea mentioned that Amanda Larson and Erwin DeVries are also over here. Amanda, of course, developed the course on supporting open education, and Erwin DeVries developed the course on the field project. And they are among this incredible international group of course developers, really world-renowned experts in different elements of open education. And so, for example, you're seeing Karen Cangelosi on the screen on the top left, who developed our course on OER and pedagogies. Anne-Marie Scott, Brian Lamb, and Clint Long at different parts of that collage over there, who developed the Open Educational Technology course. Sarah Lambert at the bottom, second from the right, who developed the Open Ed Research Project. And of course, Glenda Cox in the middle of that second row, or that second column, from South Africa, who developed the Open Ed Policy and Leadership course. So I will say we're very proud not only to draw on our expertise locally at KPU, but of course go to leading experts in different areas of open education to design these courses to your benefit. So with that, I will gladly turn things over to Martin, who of course will be able to talk more about the first course. But I think first, Andrea, over to you.
You covered it beautifully, Rajiv. That's all I was really going to say. Off to Martin. Take it away, Martin.
Okay, thanks. I'll try sharing the screen. You're getting that okay? Cool,
yeah, thanks. We can see your screen.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, so first of all, when Rajiv asked me to work on this, I was in straight away. I think it was a really good idea, and I'm a big admirer of the work at KPU. I also had a slight feeling of like, that's a really good idea. Why didn't I think of doing that, developing these courses? I think they're kind of a very timely thing and be really useful to lots of people. So the course that I've developed is kind of really to give a foundation about open education, I think. And of course, with each has the 3 modules, but each of them only cover 2 weeks ago. What you can cover in that time is fairly limited, but I think it introduces you to some of the concepts, which you'll then go on to explore in further detail in some of the other modules. So I was asked a bit about me, just so you sort of know where I'm coming from. So I work at the Open University in the UK, which is a fully distance education university. It was founded in 1969. I'm the director of what's called the OER Hub, which is a research group which does research into open educational resources and open education more generally. I'm also chair of the Open Programme at the OU, which is, so when the OU was founded, the Open University was founded, you could only get what they called open degrees. These open degrees were multidisciplinary. So the idea is that because we're asynchronous, students can combine lots of different modules into their own pathways. And now we have named degrees. You can get a degree in psychology or chemistry, or whatever. We still have this named, this open degree. And I think that's an aspect of openness that we don't often explore, actually, this kind of open to create your own degree structure and pathway. A lot of that's about flexibility. And we do see students create their own, all the possible pathways you could ever think of. And that's because it kind of really meets their needs or as they change interests or careers and those kind of things. And those are places you can find me online. I've got a book coming out, so I don't know why I put that. That's from an old time. Just a quick book plug. I've got a book called Metaphors of EdTech coming out soon with Athabasca University Press, I should say, which will be open access. So I think part of the reason Rajiv asked me is because part of this framework of this first course is to give different flavors of what open education means. And I've sort of been through a lot of those different aspects of openness. And so open education is not just OER, which I think sometimes people conflate it with. So up until sort of the mid-1990s, people tended to think of open education to be like open universities, it's kind of open access way of into education. So the Open University is part-time study, you don't need any qualifications to enter, so it's open entry, and it's distance education, so you don't need to come to a campus. So it's a way of opening up education to people. I launched the OU's first fully online course in 1999. I actually had 15,000 students. So, before MOOCs were a thing, but although they had to pay for that, they kind of, again, that was kind of demonstrating the idea that you could really deliver this kind of open education online. And I've worked with digital scholarship, which I think you might better phrase as open scholarship, the use of social media, blogging, different tools online, as well as open access publications. So I work with Athabasca Press, MOOCs, open research, open up the research process. Rajiv talked about open textbooks and open pedagogy. So I think all these are kind of different flavors of openness. I've kind of had an experience across a few of them. I wouldn't say intentionally in some ways, it's just that, by accident, I've sort of followed a bit of a trail of openness in my career. And I think that's what I tried to bring some to in the course. So as Rajiv said, there's kind of 3 modules to it. History, purposes and definitions of open education practices and research, and critical perspectives. So each stage is 2 weeks. And so that's the learning outcomes of we've got there. So only 1 per module. So you should come away with an understanding of different interpretations of open education, the type of things that I've just touched upon, and their history as well. So you kind of know where this stuff has come from. It's not just something that's appeared overnight. Demonstrate knowledge of practices in open education and approaches to open research. So ways you might think about opening up your research, open up the research process. So in that one, I talk about the research life cycle and how you can apply different aspects of openness to each element of the research life cycle. And demonstrate an understanding of the critical issues relating to open education and social justice. I think this is a kind of, and Rajiv talked about this, it's like about having a kind of critical perspective. That doesn't mean we're critical of open education, but also I think just not being straightforward kind of like cheerleaders and evangelists for it. It's about understanding and evaluating the claims that are made around open education, when it's useful, what maybe some of the issues are, and those kind of things. And I think particularly there's been a real move in recent years to sort of ally open education to issues of social justice as well. And I think that's pulled up in some of the later modules as well. So we introduced that here. That's a last slide for me, just what I hope learners get from it. I think so a sense of this, so this is that research life cycle I talked about, so you can apply openness to each of those in that diagram there. So a sense of that, understand the different types of open ed. And in my first slide, I kind of had the idea of it being a toolbox. I think that's how you should almost approach open education. There are different bits of it that you might want to choose at any one stage that might suit you or your audience or your intended purpose. To have some kind of historical perspective where it's come from, and just get a kind of foundation in open educational practice and open research. So when you come to those in the later modules, you're not coming to them cold. To get a kind of balanced view, as I said, so it's not just all kind of sort of cheerleading and its relationship to social justice. So that's what I hope you come away from. And I think it's a kind of, I'm pleased with the module. It was good fun to write, and I enjoyed pulling together all the resources. And I think it kind of gives a good basis to work onto the other modules. So I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Martin. Up next, we have Amanda Larson, Affordable Learning Instructional Consultant at The Ohio State University. Amanda, when you're ready, take it away.
All right, can you all see that? Awesome.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda Larson, and I was really honored to be asked to create this course on supporting open education. First, I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about my journey in open education. It started when I was in grad school. I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I got my master's in library and information studies there, and I was desperate for tuition remittance. This will be a theme about affordability. And so I was just applying for any teaching assistantship that existed. And there happened to be one for an OER teaching assistant position. And my library school bestie sent me this job ad. She's like, oh, I think you can do this. I think you can do this. And so I applied for it, and I got to meet the fabulous Steele Wagstaff, who is a huge open education advocate. And I got the job. I had the skills that were required, and I really cared about affordability. I had struggled in my undergraduate degree to purchase my course materials without getting a book voucher from financial aid package. And I really fell in love with this work. And then I was really, really excited when I graduated that there were actually open education librarian positions that I could apply for. So in my undergraduate, I was very, very poor. I needed assistance to get textbooks, and now I was helping other students get textbooks, and there wasn't much more I could love about that. At University of Madison, what I did there was I helped instructors learn how to use Pressbooks, so the tool that they would use in order to make their course materials open. And I introduced them to that tool. I introduced them to the social annotation tool, Hypothesis, and H5P, which are interactive HTML5 formative assessments. And I built a community of interest around Pressbooks and supported the Pressbooks user group there. When I went to Penn State, it was a much bigger role as the open education librarian, but I still had this really great opportunity to start developing as sort of a leader in the space. So I participated in the Spark Open Education Leadership Program, where I got to do something really similar to what I think this program is aiming to do, to give folks a chance to do something that's really specific to their own context with the field project and the research project. And I got to do I wrote up a press book about how you make video interviews with students and faculty at your institution as part of that. I also was an open education group OER research fellow as a part of that time at Penn State, which allowed me to build my ability to do research in this area. And then I got some really interesting service commitments while I was in that position. And I was on the Open Education Network Steering Committee, and that allowed me to see how all of these pieces fit together across all of their member institutions. While my day-to-day work had me overseeing the Affordable course transformation grant program, so helping folks transform their courses with open educational resources through either adopting or creating open educational resources. Now at my role at Ohio State, my focus is primarily on helping folks teach with OER using open pedagogy. And that's what I'm really excited about. And really sort of the through line that I see through my career in open education is saying, okay, everybody, here's all these fancy tools you can use, but now let's talk about pedagogy and getting people really jazzed to use those tools to transform their teaching. So I made the course Supporting Open Education, and it builds from my personal experiences doing the support work and the deep subject matter expertise that I've developed over the past 5 or 6 years. I developed the first module to help professionals identify methods that they will use to support students in a course while they'll be engaging in open pedagogy and using OER in their classroom. The second module really identifies how to help support instructors make that transition to using open pedagogy and OER in the classroom. What sort of support do they need, and what would you do as a support practitioner to support them in that experience? And then the third module really calls out the role that librarians have in supporting this work, but also includes instructional designers and other support specialists who help support both students and instructors while providing equitable access to learning materials and knowledge. So this course really fills a gap because there's really a limited amount of professional development that exists solely to educate specialists who are helping other people do this work. And my goal is for it to fill sort of the gap, both for like, here's how you support OER and here's how to do open pedagogy in the classroom. So there was a question already about course assessment, so I'm really excited to get to talk about it. I designed this course to not only have consistent assessment types throughout each modules, but also that they get to engage in open pedagogy, so they get that experience. So learners will engage in the same series of activities to help them build up comfortability and understanding of what's expected from them in each module. They are going to complete 4 different types of assessment. The first one is seek, annotate, reflect, and apply. Those are 4 different ones. And then my goal is this will take them through basically the knowledge transfer process so that they can build up transferable skills. I also have it set up so that they will participate in the course much the way that students would in a course that uses open pedagogy. So they're going to be knowledge creators, and hopefully they are going to be able to reuse the objects that they make throughout this course in their own work in their local context, whether they are supporting folks at an institution or not. It really explores the role of support staff, in particular librarians who often do this work, and how they support instructors and students through these experiences. My hope is that learners will work their way through all 3 modules, will be better equipped to support instructors using OER and open pedagogy, and be able to guide them in how to scaffold that process for students in their courses where they are helping out. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Up next, we have Erwin DeVries, who teaches the Online Master of Learning and Technology program at Royal Roads University. Off to you, Erwin.
Okay, it's wonderful to hear about all the stuff going on in the program. And as mentioned earlier, I teach online in educational technology with Royal Roads University, and I have a wide variety of students. A lot of them are sort of mid-career professionals who work in everything from higher education to areas such as nursing and healthcare, K-12 schools, different industries, NGOs, very wide variety of students. My own background is instructional design and program development and open education, and I've worked in both professional and higher education settings in a variety of those. And consistent with that, the field project was designed to take what you've learned throughout the program and apply it in very specific settings. So what does it mean? Not just in universities or schools, but also in workplaces whether they're professional settings such as hospitals or engineering outfits or laboratories, community initiatives and outreaches. There's a whole variety of ways that this can happen. So the field project is designed to be implemented in academic settings, workplace settings, professional settings, for community projects, community change initiatives, and so on. Limited only by the whatever students bring to the course and where they want to apply it and want to make it, actually use it to make a difference in the world. So the field project has 3 components, modules 1, 2, and 3. And the first one is actually planning it and developing a plan for the field project. The second one is how to operationalize it, planning out how to actually bring it to fruition. And module 3 is implementing it, and it's looking at all the things that could help you get it fully operating. What are the obstacles you might encounter? How do you overcome those? What's your strategy for getting it done? And also for evaluating how successful it is and tuning it up along the way. It's designed to integrate previous learning. So all the different parts that you heard about previously, along with elements from every course in the program, are brought together here and all integrated into the plan. So you're asked to think about all these elements and weave them into a plan that would be considered for wherever it is you plan to implement your plan. You can't actually deliver the plan within the time frame of the course because it's only 6 weeks, but by the end of it, we want you to come out with a well-developed plan that you could take to your workplace or whatever setting and get things started and have thought through some of the key parts of that. So here are some examples of possible field projects, and these are things my students have done, and they can happen in other areas as well. Develop a session or a webinar on a certain open education practice for a specific setting. I know somebody who did this in healthcare for an entire health region and tried to look at how community health needs could be better met using open education practices, and this is for people like diabetics and other people with chronic illnesses. Propose an open education initiative to a committee or other leadership entity. So if you're in a school or a university, perhaps, or in a corporation, how might you develop and propose and implement an open education initiative there? Maybe it's create a video or a podcast for a specific audience in our field. And I've one learner who recently worked on a podcast with her team to collect Indigenous voices to share with other people within her community. So it's very, very widely, great wide potential in where this can be taken, and it's only limited by your own imagination and your own setting. So the course process itself, what's it like? There are video introductions as to how things are going to go. There's lots of examples and resources, lots of samples that you could take a look at, so you're not just starting from nothing. There's planning guidance, checklists built in along the way to check your progress, lots of ideas. And not only that, but you don't have to, it's not a matter of getting assessed at the end. Your plan develops in stages and it keeps going back both to your peers and to your instructor for feedback along the way. And the plan incorporates things like change management strategies, impact analysis, measuring success and sustainability. So it's quite a comprehensive process. The end result, as I said, a fully developed plan ready to begin implementation. And questions or comments, I guess, I turn it back over to Andrea.
Thank you so much, Erwin. Before I get Glenn to come up and present for a few minutes, I just wanted to throw this out there. For one, a reminder, if you have any questions, please leave it in the chat. But if you're not feeling very confident about the question that you have and you want to send it to me privately, I'm happy to ask it anonymously. So I just wanted to throw that out there just in case. But up next, we have Glenn. Glenn is going to speak briefly about registration, program features, and admission requirements. So off to you, Glenn.
Thank you, Andrea. Let me try to share my screen first.
While you're doing that, sorry, I forgot to mention, just in case anybody doesn't know how to send a private message, down in the chat box where you would type your message, just above it, it says to everyone. So you would just click that down arrow, select my name, and then it will just send it to me. Thank you.
Sorry, give me a sec. Right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thanks, Andrea, once again. I'm program coordinator for continuing professional studies, and I will be coordinating this course PPOE program as well. So this is an advanced academic program. So we expect our students to have a relevant level of English proficiency required. So when it comes to the requirements, it might be it can be high school diploma where English is a primary language of instruction, or post-secondary courses, again, where English is the primary language of instruction. Although we don't require proof of English language proficiency, so it's fully up to you. It's your decision. Is your English language relevant enough for academic program or not? I think everyone paid attention on course fees. So tuition is 850 Canadian dollars plus GST. So for the set of 5 engaging 6-week courses, or totally 30 weeks, it comes to 4,250 Canadian dollars plus GST. Why I'm stating Canadian dollars, because for those, the good news is for those potential students who apply, let's say from US, is going to be cheaper for about 24%. For now, there is no need to register for the whole program at once. The reason is pretty simple, because some of the courses are selective. So you need to select 2 out of 3 elective courses and 1 out of 2 applied courses. Rajiv actually covered a lot of things. I will just summarize briefly. So again, the good news is the program is fully online and asynchronous. So there is no need to physically present at BC or Canada. Courses should be completed in sequence, and in order to complete the program within 1 year. So the program is designed to be completed within 1 year. Rajiv has already covered this piece about a zero textbook cost program. So the only thing you should know, there are no additional fees other than tuition fees. Oops. So the very important piece, the registration itself. So we use our online catalog, web catalog. Can you guys share, can you guys see my screen with the?
It's still just showing your PowerPoint.
Okay, give me a sec. I need to jump between screens. All right, can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
All right, so, okay. So, all right. Sorry. Yeah, so I think we could start from the very beginning. So if you visit our main page, kpu.ca, you should click Continue Professional Studies. You will see several options. We can start from upcoming courses. When you click upcoming courses, you will see all our available courses, and of course, open education courses. There are 2 required courses which are already published and open for the registration right now. There are several options to register. For instance, you can click Register Now, and you will see all the details, registration process details, including, for instance, those ones for a sponsoring organization. If you have a sponsor, the process is a bit different. Just we'll need to receive sponsorship letter prior to the registration. The easiest way for the public students, just to click Web Catalog, or from the left side menu, click Web Catalog, and you will be redirected to the Web Catalog. So there is a search bar. Probably the fastest way just to type Open Education or EDU, and you will see all the available courses for now. As I've said, these two ones are already published and open for the registration. The process is pretty simple. You click here to register. You, when you go to the shopping cart, you just click checkout. And the rest of the process is pretty simple. You just need to create the new account, going step by step. The process pretty simple. In case if you have any questions, any hesitates, whatever, you can always contact CPS and we'll follow you through the whole process step by step. We'll provide all the details. So this is it for me.
Thanks,
Easy
Glenn.
peasy.
Glenn, off the top of your head, what is the CPS email address? I don't want to assume. I'm pretty sure I know, but
It's it will
or
be
is there
even
like
better.
an online form? Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
Yeah, thank you for this question. So you can always, that's a good one. You can always go to CPS page. If you lost or you need to contact us, the phone number is on our main page, CPS, and email cps@kpu.ca. It's within contact CPS section or CPS home. You can always see our contact details from here.
Perfect.
Thank you, Andrea. I think we can jump to the questions and answers, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, if you have any questions right now, you can pop them into the chat. I haven't received anything so far besides whether Rajiv or somebody else would like to elaborate on or discuss further the question that Teresa had. Will you be speaking about assessments in the program, i.e. are they applied and authentic, as in useful for us as professionals?
Yeah, and maybe I'll just jump in over here and invite any one of Martin, Amanda, and Owen who want to augment anything. But I suppose the real question is for Teresa at this point, that if you feel like you want more details about this, but certainly the whole notion, as I think Amanda alluded to the most in those presentations, was to design assignments that are applied, that are authentic, and that can assist professionals' efforts in terms of their own work within their organizational context, for example. And so beyond the notion of developing resources that are open and sharing your coursework, again, if you choose to with that agency, it is meant to be both applied and authentic in that sense.
Did anybody else want to add on to that? Otherwise, I can go to the next question.
I can certainly say within the field project, there's no question the entire project is authentic in that it's something that's actually going to be used. It's an actual artifact that's going to come out of the program, and the assessment is based on peer assessment as well as or peer feedback, as well as instructor feedback and commentary on the actual plan itself. So it's like fully 100% authentically based. Really good question, and appreciate it.
Thank you, Erwin. Next question that we have is, what is the time commitment per week or per course?
Mm-hmm. And I can certainly help with this one as well. And so when we were designing the program, we were really thinking about professionals in mind. So assuming that in many cases, learners will already be employed and they'll be looking to upskill or develop their capacity in this area. And so we're designing this with sort of, imagine half a day per week, if you will. So on average, we would say about 4 hours a week for the 6 weeks. So somewhere in the region of about 24 hours across the 6 weeks of the program in terms of a commitment from the learner's perspective. And that should include all of the learning activities, including the assessments and other pieces along the way. So that's how that was designed. And again, of course, knowing that within those 6 weeks, there are those 3 modules, 2 weeks each. So there are deadlines in terms of when a particular assignment needs to be submitted or feedback provided. But leading up to that deadline, it is asynchronous. So it is meant to allow folks to manage their schedules and get to their work along the way within that broader timeline, if that makes sense.
Thank you so much. Next question, is there a class limit for the program?
Happy to throw this question over to Diana or Glenn, who run the operations of continuing and professional studies.
A class, I'll answer that one. A class
Sure.
limit is 40 students per section, I guess you could say. And so if we have more than 40 students in one section, then we will open the second section at the same time.
Thank you, Diana. Next question. Are there any available scholarship opportunities?
Again, I can answer this question. At the moment, we don't have any available scholarship opportunities. There are some discussions that are underway for this. However, we just aren't there yet.
Next question is, can the program be taken over a couple of years? Is there a program commitment?
Again, I'll answer this question. We don't have I don't want to say like there isn't a shelf life. So the short answer is yes, it can be taken over a few years. You can select the courses. You can set your own time limit. You can select the courses that you want in the times that are convenient for you, but keeping in mind that the way that the courses are being scheduled right now, that they're not all being offered every semester or every term. And so it might be that if you're needing a course, you may need to be waiting for a period of time before it comes around on the schedule again. So that's one piece. The second piece is that the two final courses that we would expect that you have completed all of the other courses before the actual applied courses. So again, it comes down to a scheduling issue, but you can take 2, 3, 4 years, however long you would like to complete the course.
Yeah, and if I can just augment what Diana said, I mean, we're mindful as well that within institutions, let's say higher education institutions or other organizations, there are often timelines, even in terms of mapping out your professional development plan for the next year, getting approval, securing funding. And so we're mindful that people may need to work within those constraints in terms of their own plan and how long they take, whether they're doing it a la carte or over a single year, for example.
Thank you so much. Next question is the program transferable anywhere as part of, for example, as part of a larger postgraduate certificate?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can certainly help over here. I mean, I think there's two ways to look at this. One is, on the one hand, when you look at professional development opportunities in open education, this has been intentionally designed to be more comprehensive than some of the options available right now. So in fact, to flip the question a little bit, if anyone has taken formal professional development or learning experiences in open ed, like the Spark Open Ed Leadership Program that Amanda herself took, for example, or even, for example, the Open Education Network's librarianship program, you're able to transfer in, if you will, that work so you get some credit, and that's where the advanced placement comes in for this program. On the flip side, on the sort of outgoing side, this, I think at the moment, there are no formal arrangements worked out. So this would be under the realm of prior learning assessment and recognition. But this is a new area, of course. And I think as we develop this program further, there's going to need to be a lot more conversations. There aren't, of course, a plethora of graduate programs that focus squarely on open education. But I suppose I would say that this is a problem I would like to have and see more of in the future. The question of could we transfer into this program? I'd like to see more programs that would be good candidates to transfer this to. But right now it would be PLAR, or Prior Learning Assessment and Recognition.
All right. Next question. What LMS are you using at continuing studies?
Quick answer is Moodle. So we, of course, with the ethos of open ed tech, you would not be surprised that the infrastructure we're using in these programs are Moodle, which is, of course, open source technology, H5P, open source technology, Hypothesis, open source technology, and the list goes on. So yes, Moodle.
Thank you. And we still have a couple of minutes left. We're down to our last question. So if anybody wants to throw in any last questions before we close out the session, please go ahead and do so. But so far, our last question for now is, what was the estimated number of hours again per week? I can't remember either. I know it was mentioned.
So we were thinking half a day, so roughly 4 hours a week on average. So 24 hours across the 6-week courses individually. And as several of the developers have noted in the chat, this guidance is quite explicit in the courses as well. So when you see a particular learning activity, whether it's, read this article, engage in this reflective piece, work on this assignment, there are estimated time guidelines for those. So you have a sense of how you can manage your time and break it up. Again, we're operating under the assumption that many of our learners are going to be busy working professionals. And so this is why we're building this in a way that can be engaged with asynchronously and flexibly across the timeline of those 6 weeks. So again, 4 hours on average per week, 24 hours on average per course across the 6 weeks.
Thank you so much. Next question. Will this program be offered again in 2023 to 24?
Yes, the plan is to offer the program on an ongoing basis. And so
Great, yes.
it should be, yes.
Okay, that's all of the questions that we have for now. I'll just wait a few more seconds in case anybody
I have
else.
one quick question for Diana.
Go for it.
Diana, it might take you a while to build up the students. So if you get small numbers in the fall, will you go ahead at any rate?
No. We do have a threshold that we are hoping to meet, and we are getting very close to that threshold for our registrations, and so it's looking very positive at this point that we will be going ahead.
So what's your threshold like?
The minimum amount
Of students?
So if I can just jump in quickly as well over here, Teresa, I think one of the things we have to look at, and we're calibrating this inside as well, is as you will know, even though we're going to actually be releasing a lot of the course materials openly as well, the part of what we're trying to do on our end is provide a learning experience with those instructors who we certainly want to recognize their labor and make sure they are compensated adequately, right? So I don't know that we can share a lot of the internal workings publicly in that way, but suffice to say that we certainly want to be sure that we can provide a high quality instructional experience that respects the labor of instructors. And so, as Diana said, we're very close to that threshold and it is looking positive. We can certainly talk about this more offline, but it's certainly, it's one of those business decisions, but that primarily rests on the question of the instructional and learning experience first.
Great. Well, I think we're closing in on the last few minutes that we have here. I don't see any more questions coming in.
So glad to
So-
see Emily's already registered for the first course. That's wonderful.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Well, I hesitate just in case something else comes in, but I think I'm going to conclude the PPOE information session. Thank you so much for attending and take care. Bye,
I'm
everyone.
gonna stop recording.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks very much.